Hello there and welcome back to Logic Language Learning, and as with all of my videos, all of the information is underneath if you need to contact me, if you want to hear any of the homeworks that I send people, or if you basically want to contact me about Skype teaching online, or any of the general small questions. So what we are doing today is looking at the verbs. The verbs are the doing words, so I'm never short of people that I work with who don't even know what a verb is, and that's not to criticise anybody. We don't want to know the grammar, we just want to be able to use it. So I speak, speak is a verb. I do, do is a verb. I eat, I jump, they're the things that we're doing, the actions that we're taking. Okay, so there are many online and textbook verb guides to French, and what we try and do at Logic Language Learning is make things easier for you with patterns. So you will see first group, second group, third group. You will see ER verbs, IR verbs, RE verbs, which is how they're spelt. But what I really want you to get into with this method are two distinct patterns. And these patterns are going to be A verbs. Now an A verb ending in ER is, for example, a verb like we have over here, which is the verb to speak, okay? Now with to speak, you will see that it ends ER, and like we were talking about in the previous video, many words in French which end in a letter without another vowel afterwards, we don't pronounce the R. So we're not saying parle, we're saying parler, okay? A. Okay? Now, in English, we have to speak in two different words, and this one word, this one little word in French is going to give us to speak. And this is the same for most European languages. We have one word will give us to speak, okay? So we all know I like, j'aime, we've seen it on many t-shirts, j'aime, I like to speak, j'aime parler, I like one word to speak, okay? So this is really important. So with my method, what we're going to do is any verb which ends in the A sound, we're going to call an A verb, which is pretty logical. So any verb you see with ER is going to work this way. And all the other verbs, which we're going to look at very soon, don't you worry, we're going to call soft and hard verbs. So we have two distinct groups for verbs. We have the A verbs and the soft and hard verbs. And I don't want you to think about the soft and hard just yet. Now, what are we coming to here? What are we looking at? Those of you who have tried to learn French before, those of you who've done French at school, it's all about the endings. But we don't want all these endings in our head. We want simple, quick, fast ways to be able to learn the endings. So, we are talking about the present tense now. Okay, so right now we are talking about I speak or I am speaking. And notice, in English, we have two different ways of saying that. I speak, I am speaking. One is general, you know, I speak English. One is right now, I am speaking English to you. We do also use that second one for plans for the future. So I am speaking with my friend tomorrow night about our holiday. Okay, so this one is the present, something which is happening right now. So I speak, you speak, he speaks, she speaks, we speak, they speak. In English, we don't really have too much to do. We just need to put an S on the end of the he. Going back to our old method, the third person. Okay, the third person. Singular. So, what we want to look at with French is we want to try and find the basic short sound of the verb. So if I gave you parler, I want you to think how many beats that is. Parler is 2. If I gave you manger, which is to eat, how many beats? Manger, you have 2. If I gave you danser, which you can probably guess is to dance, dansez, how many beats have I got? I've got 2. Okay, and what you want to do is to be taking off not the whole of the second beat, you want to be getting rid of the A. So if I have parler, what's the little sound which comes before the A? It's a L. I need to keep the L. So I'm not saying parler, just say par. I'm not saying dansez, just say dans. I'm actually going to keep the little sound that comes before, so I'm just getting rid of the A. So parler, parle. Manger, mange. Danser, danse. to touch. Toucher. Now what was the sound which came before the A? Sh. Toucher. Touche. Okay? You try a few with me. Couper, like the car. Couper, what came before the A? The P. So cut is coupe. Tirer, to pull. Tirer, tire. Okay, so this is what we're going to call in my method the core. Okay, this is the core. Okay, nothing to do with abs or Pilates, as good as that is. It's the core. So danser, danse. Couper, coupe. You could go longer. Écouter is 3 syllables. This means to listen. Écouter. The sound that came before my A is T. So my core would be écoute. So I'm most of the time going to drop one sound, 3 to 2 or 2 to 1 or 4 to 3, but I'm going to just get rid of the A. Okay? So let's work out who's who. Now the trick to remembering this in French is everybody is going to be the core, regardless of how they're spelt, apart from nous and vous. So let's use our verb cut, couper, because it's a nice one to remember. We all know a coupe car. So I cut, je coupe. You cut, tu coupes. He cuts, il coupe. She cuts, elle coupe. Notice with the name. Luke cuts, Luke coupe. Okay? They cut, il coupe or elle coupe if it's male or female. Now, the only time we need to be different is if we're looking at the word we. The word we. And our word for we, if you look at the word we have an O, an N and an S in there somewhere. So our ending for the we verb is going to be O-N-S, on. Now look at this O-N-S, there's no E after this S, there's no vowel after this S. So like I've said before, you don't pronounce the S. So on, okay? On. Said absolutely identically to another word on, which means one, or we in a cheeky way, which I'm coming to in a second. So for example, if I had dansez, how many syllables, how many beats? Dansez, I've got 2. So I need to find my core, which is danse, my shortest form, and I'm going to put on the end, dansons. If I had couper, I'm going to find my core, which is coupe, and I'm going to put my on the end, which is coupons. So we cut. If I had toucher, we touch, nous touchons. So I'm swapping the A for the on, okay? On like on the table, but said with a French accent, okay? But don't panic about the accent for the moment, okay? Our next word is vous, which as we know from our previous video is formal or plural you. And this ending is going to be exactly the same as our big form, our long form, our to form. So if I said manger, hier, manger was to eat, vous mangez sounds identical. There is 0 difference. One is written er, one is written ez, but there is 0 difference. So if I told you the verb to touch was toucher, you plural, you formal, you touch would be vous touchez. If I told you danser was to dance, you dance, vous dansez. So what we're left with is core, 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 core plus the en for the we, core plus the a for the vous, and core at the bottom. So you can remember that pretty easily. You think core for everybody, vous, oh that's important. Now it's either important because there's lots of them, or it's important because it's formal. And because of that, we're going to give them the title of the verb, we're going to give them the big one. So for example, je coupe, tu coupes, I cut, he cuts, il coupe, nous coupons, vous coupez, il coupe. So let's say I gave you the verb to frappe. You've had a frappe, frappuccino in Starbucks. Frappe is to hit, F-R-A-P-P-E-R. So I hit, je frappe, it's the core. Tu, give me the core, tu frappes. Il frappe. Nous, now what was my nous ending? I need a special ending for the nous frappons. Vous, now vous is important, it's going to match the long form. Vous frappez, good. Il, they, sounds identical to the he, back to normal. Il frappe. Now the only other one we need to be looking at is en. And en is a very, very useful word in French because it's going to give us the we without having to bother with the nous. And it uses the same verbs as he and she. Okay, the same verbs. So he and she use the core. So he hits, il frappe. She hits, elle frappe. We hit using on frappe. Yeah, if I said we eat, give me she eats. Now the verb is manger, what's the core? Everybody's the core, apart from nous and vous. She eats, elle mange. We eat, on mange. Or nous mangeons, which is obviously the version we learn. But I'm not just saying this to give you a little excuse. This is widely used in France. You can use on. So please do learn both, because I promise the verbs are going to get longer and more complicated. So again then, let me give you some questions. So if my verb were pousser, notice I'm saying OU, not you, so pousser, like a monkey, pousser. Double S as well in French gives me a S like a snake. You'll see the pronunciation video. Ironic I can't pronounce this word, pronunciation. So if I gave you pousser to push, pousser to push, what's the core going to be? Pousse. Good. So how would I say I push? Je pousse. How would I say she pushes? Elle pousse. Okay? How would I say you, in formal you push? Vous poussez. Good. We push? Nous poussons. Now our endings that we write down, which is not what I want you to think about, okay? When you went to school you could already say the words you were learning to say in English, or whichever your language is if you're watching and you're not first language English. So I want you to hear this in your head before you learn to write. Yeah, we're not doing hieroglyphics, but were we to look, il parle, okay? Tu parles, okay? Now there's an S after that, I, as there will be in most you verbs, but we're not going to pronounce it. Why are we not going to pronounce it? Good, because there's no vowel after it. Parle, again. Parlons, ONS, we've learnt this for the we. Parlez, EZ, easy, EZ. Yeah, the vous form. But said parler, now this one causes some problems. Parle. Do we have an E after the N? No. Do we have a vowel or an E after the T? No. So really, as far as we're concerned, we can imagine that that one's not there. So our endings are insignificant. I want you to remember, everybody is core, apart from en and a. So come with me one more time. Danser, to dance. Je danse. Tu danses. Il danse. Oui, nous dansons. Good. Or on danse. Vous dansez. Il danse. Danse, danse, danse. Dansons, dansez, danse. Think of the core and we won't have any problems. Okay? Have a look underneath. Contact me any problems. And please click like on the video if this helped.